My wife has been telling a bunch of lies ever since we first met. I mean, every detail is part of it, from who she is to what happened in her life, her being unfaithful, and her promises to change. I talked to her many times, catching her when she's most open, hoping she'd tell the truth among all her lies. But sadly, those confessions were just more lies. I'm not a therapist, but I think she's got some serious issues. Probably histrionic personality disorder and a habit of lying a lot. Trust me, she shows all the symptoms. When we met, I had just ended a long relationship and was looking for something casual. Back then, places like Adult Friend Finder were where you'd go for quick connections. Being careful with money, I found her online username and started talking with her. We decided to grab lunch a few weeks later, which went well, leading to more dates. She mentioned having a male roommate, but I didn't really think much about it. I didn't feel like investigating further, being lost in my own gullibility. She talked about her past marriage ending because of her ex being unfaithful, leaving her in a tough spot, sharing a place with a roommate due to money issues. One night, early in our relationship, I was out with colleagues working on a project when she called, upset, and seemingly unable to be consoled. She revealed a shocking truth about her past that shook her whole identity. The guy she thought was her dad, whom I'll call Italian Dad, wasn't her real father. He was a guy her mom had been involved with while her actual dad was in prison. When her real dad got out of jail, he became her uncle, and Italian Dad became the father figure. Her real dad stayed out of her life while Italian Dad played the devoted father role. I was really into this woman. She had a bachelor's degree from the same university I went to, though a different campus, and later got a master's from Columbia University in NYC. After working in her field for a while, she got tired and switched to an easier job in retail. Our love was real. She decided to take birth control pills for a better experience for both of us. But things changed when she told me she was pregnant. I'm a loyal and honorable guy, committed to her. I had already decided to ask her to marry me. I wanted it to be a perfect moment, a romantic gesture that would blow her away. But with her being pregnant, emotions hit hard, and she was scared of me leaving her. Knowing her past struggles and guilt as an unmarried mom-to-be, I couldn't see her so upset. In that moment, I realized waiting for the perfect time wasn't an option. Without a ring, in our living room while she was crying, I proposed. It wasn't the grand gesture I had in mind, but at that moment, it was what she needed. Our son was born, bringing new energy into our lives and prompting us to establish a different routine. It was a busy time, typical for any new parent, but we made an effort to find moments for each other amidst the chaos. In the early stages of our relationship, she immersed herself in an online chat system with inappropriate conversations. She admitted being part of that community for a while and forming strong connections there. I understood the need for belonging, having my own online group, though it didn't involve inappropriate chats. I trusted her completely and expressed my approval. I even helped her create avatars for the site that matched its theme. Her passion for closeness was infectious and fueled my own desire, so I had no complaints. However, the lines between boundaries started to blur. Desperate to keep my wife happy, I remained silent about the things I noticed. One of the earliest issues unfolded a few months after our son's arrival. Coming home after a long day at work, I found her engaging in self-pleasure in our bedroom. Initially surprised, I thought about joining in, but then I saw her hastily concealing her phone, engaged in phone cheating with some mysterious man. I told myself to stay composed, thinking she was eager for a passionate encounter. But the memory lingered, etching itself into my mind. In the years that followed, including the present, I overheard secretive phone conversations where she spun captivating tales, creating alternate lives for herself and our family, entangling unsuspecting men in her web of fiction. Through a closed door, I caught wind of an intriguing conversation. She wove a tale of being a widow seeking solace in her family's mountain ski cottage, a story she often repeated. Astonishingly, this was her norm. Each time she effortlessly assumed an alternate persona, captivating these men. Sometimes real names were used, while other times she conjured up fictional identities. Her stories fluctuated between partial truths and complete fabrications. How she managed to juggle numerous plot lines, navigating the complexities from one day to the next, often with multiple individuals, remains a mystery. Now let's jump to some recent and egregious transgressions within our marriage. 3 years ago, I found myself away for the weekend, not too far off, visiting some friends. Usually on such occasions, which happened a couple of times a year, I'd spend the night there due to late hours and exhaustion. However, something felt off this time, like an unsettling itch beneath my skin. Her behavior and excessive texting, sharing unsolicited details about her evening, struck me as peculiar. She was unusually talkative, oversharing every minute detail of her night. That wasn't her normal self with me, so I knew something was wrong. It was around 1:30 or 2 a.m. when I made up my mind. I had to return home that very night. The drive was only an hour, and a strong cup of coffee would keep me alert. Let me recount a particular detail she shared with me. According to her, a friend I'll call Jane had visited that night. Apparently, Jane had brought along some Mary Jane, intending to indulge in a smoking session. Let me clarify, I've never dabbled in medicaments, nor do I condone any illegal substances, and she knows this all too well. In a subsequent text, she informed me that Jane would be spending the night as she was in no state to drive. It was around 3 a.m. when I arrived home, and to my surprise, there was not a single car in the driveway. A quick glance around the street revealed no parked cars nearby either. Where could Jane's car have vanished to? Entering the house cautiously, just in case I had missed something or my wife had picked up Jane earlier, I anticipated finding Jane dozing off on the couch. When I got to the couch, I noticed a troubling stain that looked like dried semen. To make things more puzzling, there was constant snoring from upstairs. Quietly, I went up the stairs, my instincts pushing me forward with a nagging suspicion. And there, next to my wife in our bed, was a total stranger, a man I had never seen before. It felt like the world was falling apart, heading toward an inevitable end. Seeking comfort, I went to my daughter's room. Yes, we had a daughter by then, but both kids were at my in-laws for the weekend, which was odd given my absence. Overwhelmed, I sat on a chair, buried my face in my hands, contemplating what to do for at least 30 minutes or more, grappling with a weighty decision. Despite starting calmly, I realized I couldn't stay composed. Determined, I burst into the bedroom, turned on the light, and landed a powerful punch on the intruder's head. The impact was so strong that my wedding ring flew off, making me wonder if it meant anything. Grabbing him by the legs, I forcefully pulled him out of my bed, telling him to leave immediately. I won't go into all the details, but looking back, I don't think he knew she was married. His genuine surprise at my presence was clear. Since he hadn't driven to our place, I reluctantly let my wife drive him home, though I should have insisted he walk or take a cab. After she returned, we found ourselves in the kitchen talking until dawn. She insisted nothing inappropriate happened, emphasizing they just got high and fell asleep. The puzzling part was that I hadn't caught them in the act, lacking concrete evidence for my suspicions. Strangely, the stain on the couch disappeared while I slept later that day. Additionally, a honeymoon photo that was missing from our fridge mysteriously reappeared. My mind was full of doubts about her, even before this incident. There were certain aspects of her life I avoided discussing, deeming them unimportant and not worth starting a conflict. However, it had reached a point where I had to confront her directly, seeking nothing but the unvarnished truth. One trivial matter bothering me was the high school she claimed to have attended. Despite her insistence on a specific Catholic school, I found no evidence, leading me to believe she went to the public school in her district, known for its poor reputation. I didn't care about the school. I just wanted the truth. She stuck to her story about the Catholic school, but what bothered me more was the mystery around her former roommate. Over the years, I discovered information that didn't quite add up, aligning too well with her ex-husband's life. I confronted her, suspecting the roommate wasn't real but her ex-husband. I believed I unknowingly became the other man, unintentionally ending her previous marriage. She vehemently denied it, offering a prepared story with slight alterations. With no concrete evidence, I chose to forgive her, convincing myself to rebuild trust for the sake of our relationship and children. Despite a shaken foundation, we moved forward, determined to press on. Months later, I overheard her talking on the phone, making up stories about a family vacation in a fake ski cottage. The absurdity hit me, knowing she had never skied, and her family faced financial issues. I confronted her outside our closed bedroom door, insisting she tell the truth. Initially, she denied the call, but as I recounted specific details, she couldn't hide her deception. Lying was her go-to defense. On my birthday, I found myself working from home. Coincidentally, she also had the day off. Yet I couldn't help but notice her constant texting, a mystery unfolding before me. How did I stumble upon this revelation? She handed me her phone, showing her inability to cover her tracks effectively. We had separate cell phone accounts but decided to combine them onto one service. Since my carrier offered a better deal, we planned to transfer her number to my account. While at home, we initiated the transfer, meaning her phone would be temporarily out of service. As I backed up her old phone to save her contacts and pictures, I received text messages from an unknown number, not saved in her contacts. The porting process took a few hours, causing her impatience as she was reluctant to stop her conversations with the new guy. After the porting process, a flood of text messages poured in, prompting her to respond vigorously, even sending hundreds in a single day. Unaware that my plan didn't include unlimited texting, I discovered hefty charges when checking our account usage the next day. Confronting her, I urged her to stop this costly behavior. It turned out to be another instance involving another guy, though the details blend together amid the recurring pattern. Once again, I confronted her, and once again, she promised to stop. 3 tense months passed, fueling my escalating paranoia. Whenever possible, I covertly checked her phone, going through emails, texts, and photos. Among them, I found explicit pictures not intended for me. In a nutshell, she went on a lunch date with a guy and later met at a nearby park. A message after their outing revealed her desire for a more intimate encounter, lamenting the presence of bystanders. That was the breaking point. During a subsequent call, I couldn't hide my anger. I stepped out of my office to express my frustration and confronted her about the lunch date and park rendezvous. Overwhelmed with guilt, she wept, fearing the end of our marriage. Once again, I relented, but I sternly warned her that no more chances would be given. This was the final ultimatum. That final chance lasted around 8 months, or perhaps even less, considering I caught her red-handed. But that brings us almost to the present. Did you know you can message people through Yelp? Well, she did, and apparently she was engaging in conversations with some local guy there. That's where I stumbled upon her most recent mischievous escapades. Soon after, she ventured into the realm of Kik Messenger. She even posted on Reddit, seeking out Kik pals, and it didn't take long for her to entice a few individuals. While I haven't closely monitored her activities on Kik, I do know she has been regularly communicating with at least 2 people, and their messages are far from innocent, just friends banter. Just the other day, she needed my assistance with her phone due to some issues she was experiencing. In no time, I stumbled upon a folder containing a collection of explicit photos and videos she had sent through Kik. However, it was after this revelation that I made the decision to divorce her. Since that night when I unexpectedly found her in bed with another man, forgiveness has been hard to come by. Despite my efforts to convince myself that trust is possible and her love for me is genuine, an inner struggle persisted. I had a deep-down belief that she would consistently resort to deception, creating a lasting sense of mistrust. Over the past few weeks, weighed down by years of lies, I reached a breaking point. After much internal debate and weighing pros and cons, I finally made a decision. With hesitation, I pressed the send button, sending a heartfelt message to her ex-husband via Facebook Messenger. Unsure if he would read or respond, I needed answers, and he had no reason to deceive me. To my surprise, within a mere 30 seconds I received the seen notification. Then, in just a couple of minutes, he replied, confirming that she had likely lied about him and his past. This was the conversation I had yearned for. Over the next hour and a half, we engaged in an open exchange, delving into every aspect. Remarkably, he even expressed a desire to meet in person for further discussion. It was a mutually beneficial conversation, addressing my lingering doubts about her and his own curiosities about me. I unknowingly played the role of the other man in her life. When I met her, she was still married and living with her husband. The so-called roommate turned out to be a complete fabrication. I conducted a thorough public record search on Spokeo and did find someone with the same name as the supposed roommate, living on the same street as one of my wife's previous addresses. However, her ex-husband had no knowledge of this person, leaving us to wonder if it was simply a bizarre coincidence or a neighbor he had never encountered. The truth about her father also came to light. The notion of an Italian father was entirely fabricated. Those alleged summer trips to Italy, they never occurred. In reality, she only visited Italy once as part of a school trip. Speaking of school, it turns out she did attend the public school I had suspected all along. And here's the kicker, she's not even a Catholic. So where did she disappear to during those times she claimed to be attending Sunday Mass? Probably out on more dates with random guys. And let's not forget about those 2 degrees she boasted about. After catching her with the lunch date dude, I demanded answers to the web of lies she had spun. One truth she reluctantly admitted was that she had no degrees at all. She claimed to have attended both schools but never finished either of them. However, her ex-husband revealed that she hadn't even attended those schools in the first place, just 1 semester at a local college, and that was the extent of it. So even when she tried to confess some truth to me, it was just a different set of lies. She's pulled this same stunt with her ex-husband repeatedly, ran up his credit cards and left them unpaid, relatedly basically drained my $401k through loans and early withdrawals she talked me into. Do I need to keep going on? It's all a lie. I've only scratched the surface here, but there's no time to go over all the countless transgressions. Let me share one more story she's told countless times. She claims to have lived in New York City during those days while not attending Columbia. According to her, she was in class when the tragedy happened, witnessing the fear and panic. She also mentioned knowing interns at the World Trade Center who didn't survive. She even claimed to have worked as an intern at the New York Times and had a shared byline on a front-page story published on the day after the event with the audacious claim that it was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. It's all a web of lies, ex-husband revealed that they never actually lived in NYC. They may have visited for some fun weekends, but they never resided there. This is deeply offensive to all the New Yorkers who experienced the tragedies of Twin Towers, and it sickens me to my core. So I've made the tough choice to end my marriage with my wife. No trial separation for us. I've given her plenty of chances to change, but it hasn't worked. Counseling won't help either. I've reached my breaking point. The trust between us is completely broken. It's heartbreaking for the sake of our kids, but it seems like the only way forward. I believe it's the right decision in the long run, but I'm honestly scared of the challenges ahead and the difficulties we'll all face. My love for my children is strong, and I only want what's best for them. Here I am, at the end of my sad story, ready for the next chapter. Where do I go from here? How can I navigate this process in the best way possible? Money is tight for me, living paycheck to paycheck. It would be great if we could avoid lawyers. Neither of us can afford one anyway. Will she play dirty when it comes to the kids? I can't predict that. The uncertainty is unsettling. Surprisingly, I don't hold any ill feelings towards her. Despite everything, I don't wish any damage on her. It may sound strange, but I don't want to fight with her once this is all over. I want us to maintain a mature co-parenting relationship after I express my desire for a divorce. I need her cooperation to ensure a smooth transition for everyone involved. There are a few challenges to consider. We don't have family nearby who can provide immediate support. They're not too far, but not close enough for us to stay with them if necessary. My wife works from home, so we need to figure out a solution for her to continue working without risking her job. She currently takes care of dropping off and picking up our kids from school, so any changes in our living arrangements must consider that. A close friend who went through a divorce last year advised me to wait until after the holidays for emotional support. Being alone during the holidays really sucks. Besides, it will give me some time to plan things out, hopefully. I need your advice on what steps to take next, any helpful resources, and ways to support my kids through this difficult time. When my parents divorced, I was 19 and managed to handle it as an adult. However, my younger brother, who was only 13 at the time, struggled a lot. Now my own kids are 5 and 8, and I'm really worried about how this will impact them. I'm seeking guidance to ensure their well-being. Please, help me. By the way, in case anyone wonders, yes, she had an Ashley Madison account, but I didn't need their data breach to find that out. I discovered it during the whole ordeal on my birthday. It was just one of the emails I came across while using her phone. Second story. Didn't expect to find myself in this situation, but here I am. Over the weekend, my wife, 38F, and our 13-year-old daughter visited her mom. I couldn't join due to work, so we decided it would be a girls' weekend for them. As a firefighter in a large southern city, I was on a call when the dispatcher informed me of an emergency. Though not needed on the call, I checked my phone and found several texts from my kid and a few from an unknown number. Through about 11 text messages, I discovered my daughter had gone ice skating, fallen, and broken her wrist. She's in the emergency room, but my wife is nowhere to be found. The unknown number belongs to a friend of my wife's, who went to the emergency room to be with my kid, the chaperone for the girls who had gone skating. I called this friend, and after much hesitation, she admitted my wife had gone to dinner with a random guy. Due to my job, our location is always shared with the family. I pulled up an address and found it's a hotel. It was 10 p.m. Now it's almost 4 hours later, and she hasn't answered my texts, but she did finally call our kid. I got permission and insurance information. My daughter got a cast and a referral to see an orthopedist when she gets home. The friend took our daughter back to her grandmother's and texted me, apologizing for the way I found out about that guy. Apparently, this has been happening every time she's gone home without me. Meanwhile, I've worked countless hours of overtime to pay off our house, take us on nice vacations, and send our daughter to the most expensive private school in our city. I feel like a fool. Following advice, I talked to a lawyer and realized she doesn't have much access to her money. I removed her as an authorized user of my credit cards, added two-factor authentication to almost everything else she might try to access. I checked my credit report and found she opened a joint credit card I didn't know about. Since I'm on the account, I logged in and printed out the charges, creating a perfect timeline of restaurants and hotels she paid for. Turns out she also has accounts on Tinder and Bumble, discovered through recent phone bills. A friend who is a deputy sheriff will be here tonight when she gets home. I booked her a hotel room for the week and paid up front. She can stay there for now and figure things out on her own starting tomorrow. My daughter and I talked, and she knows what's going on and is angry at her mom. The next steps are to find someone for her to talk to. Thankfully, my job provides excellent insurance, so that's one less thing to worry about. When it was time for my wife to return, I was prepared. An old friend, a deputy sheriff, agreed to be there during our confrontation. I had already reserved a hotel room nearby for a week, paying in advance. It was a chance for her to experience the uncertainty she had brought into my life. The confrontation wasn't pleasant. Despite her pleas and apologies, I remained unmoved. I handed her the hotel room keys, instructing her to pack and leave. Although she was shocked, I stayed indifferent. My daughter, full of anger, chose to stay with me. Later, I had a tough conversation with her mother. While defending her daughter initially, she eventually acknowledged the undeniable evidence I had collected. The following weeks were chaotic. Divorce proceedings started, and my lawyer was relentless. The evidence of her infidelity played strongly in my favor. I kept the house, my daughter stayed with me, and I secured a significant portion of our assets. Meanwhile, my wife's life took a downward turn. The man she betrayed me for turned out to be a professional con man. He vanished, leaving her heartbroken and penniless. It was a tough lesson, but she was reaping what she had sown. The revenge I sought came unexpectedly. I protected my interests, ensured my daughter's well-being, and exposed her infidelity. She faced the consequences of her actions while I began rebuilding our lives. The journey wasn't easy. The pain of betrayal lingered, but I was determined to move forward. I invested time in healing, reconnecting with my daughter, and learning to trust again. In the end, the best revenge wasn't causing her pain, but showing her she hadn't broken me. I emerged from the storm stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever life had in store. Despite everything, I felt a strange sense of gratitude. The betrayal set off events that led to a better understanding of myself. I wasn't a fool, as I initially thought. I was a survivor,